morning, Bucknuts. It is Tuesday, April 12th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5. Joined today by the inimitable Duane Long. And Duane and I complain all the time about the gray. It looks like today might actually be a nice day in Ohio.
Oh, it's gorgeous out here already. So I'm always excited about that. And by the end of the week, we're going to be in the 70s. We got a spring game. Looks like right now the projection is 72 degrees and sunny. So I'm real excited about that.
You're excited, and those in Ohio who want to see something cool should be excited. I've long said the determination on whether to go to a spring game if you've never been before, got to go check it out once. But if the weather is nice, it makes the experience a whole lot better. 72 and sunny for the spring game should be mandatory attendance for anybody within, 2 hours driving distance. If you've never been to the spring game, for $5 you can get in, and you can take in some of the pomp and circumstance. There's nothing like being in the shoe when there's 90,000 plus in there. I'm not sure you're going to get your 107 in there, but let's see if we can get in there about 90 and double up most of those SEC schools. But we digress. Today, Duane and I are going to do something we do in the off season from time to time. We're going to lay out some football predictions for the season ahead. Who knows if they will come true, but it's fun stuff to talk about. A lot going on with the football team, a lot of positivity. So we'll stick with that vein. Here's what's going to happen. Duane will make a prediction, and we'll kvetch about it. I'll make one, and we'll kvetch about it, and then kind of wrap this thing up, kind of have some fun here on a Tuesday. Duane, your first prediction for the football season.
Well, you threw out a teaser on it yesterday, and I'm going to run with it. My prediction is if this Buckeye team beats Oklahoma, they'll go undefeated through the season. I absolutely believe that. This is such a young team. You're going into a tough environment against a traditional power, and we're just so young, Dan. We're a very young football team. So many guys, they're going to be stepping out there for the first time on a football field, let alone first start. I think the gravity of it can overwhelm them. I think, walking into a stadium where it's a hostile environment, I think it's going to get the best of them. I said 10-2 would be a good season. 9-3 is something I could live with. Well, 10-2, I'm just figuring this is going to be a loss. I think we have the talent to win. I think we got the coaching staff that can get them there. It's whether they can overcome the moment and in a hostile environment and make it happen. That's my prediction, that if they do that, and I think they can, I think Ohio State goes undefeated, and hopefully we're in that 14 playoff.
I don't think that's completely outlandish. I still have a hard time believing Bob Stoops can outcoach Urban Meyer. That will be the only game as we look at their schedule. Not the only game, but that's definitely a game as you look at their schedule that they're not going to be favored in. That'll be the first time in a while they played in a game like that. They do bring back their quarterback, so that's a little disturbing. But that should be, I'll tell you this, we're not going to have to go through a season of people complaining about their schedule, that's for sure. Okay, here's my first prediction. Sam Hubbard will be the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, leave early, and be a first-round draft pick. I think when I watched him last year, I realized this, and I'm trying to go out on a limb here a little bit. Things have gotten good enough here that I think we can take some chances. I just think he fits the mold. I see, and the name you're going to hear as people go to their white guy cliches is Patrick Kearney, former defensive end at the University of Virginia. Started out at Virginia as what? A lacrosse player, so you got that hook. Ended up being an elite 4-3 defensive end for the Atlanta Falcons. I think Sam Hubbard, what stood out to me about Hubbard is he just has, it's almost like a guy in basketball who has a knack for offensive rebounding. Hubbard just has a knack for the ball. The fumbles find him. The sacks, his timing is great. I think if you look at him physically, he's a prototype. We had some stuff in the boarding house yesterday that talked about his motor. So I may be out on a limb there talking about a guy who's never, really been a true starter, being Defensive Player of the Year in the first pick, not the first pick of the draft, but a first-round draft pick. But that is it. Sam Hubbard leaves early, Defensive Player of the Year, first-round draft pick. Thoughts?
Well, I think it's a possibility. My only concern, I would be more in agreement with you on that if he was playing on the weak side rather than the strong side. I go back to the Notre Dame game, and I remember the first thing I noticed about the difference between Hubbard and Bosa was Hubbard was he just was not big enough, strong enough yet to set that edge. Now you're talking about another year in the weight room with Mick, and he's been producing phenomenal results. I think he's very key to why Ohio State's where we are right now. If he was on the weak side, just where they're going to mostly look to him as a pass rusher, yeah, weak side end's got to set the end too. But over there on the strong side where they're playing him at, he's still got to play the run a little bit better, be a little bit more stout. But pass rushing, I believe he is probably going to be as good as Bosa. I think he's a little quicker. He definitely has the motor. So it's not like this is just an absolutely crazy thing to say, but I think it's a possibility. If he's better against the run, I think he's really going to he'll at least be a first-round draft pick if he's not Defensive Player of the Year.
I just think guys who are emerging prospects who don't have the lineage in the sport that some of the others have, those are the guys that sometimes take a huge jump. All right, Duane. Prediction number 2 from the long view.
I say that this offensive line is going to be the equal, if not better, than the offensive line that we won the national championship behind 2 years ago. I look at these guys, I think we're obviously going to be better overall at tackle than, I'm trying to remember the right tackle that year. Yeah, he's that forgettable.
Darryl, he's a big old Baldwin.
Darryl Baldwin, there you go. Darryl Baldwin and Taylor Decker together. Decker himself, first-round draft pick. On the right side, though, we had just a guy. I believe that Prince and Jamarco Jones are going to be a better combination at tackle. I think we've gotten much bigger on the inside. Elflein at center is an improvement. You know, we've got these guys coming in. Demetrius Knox looks like he maybe should have played. Remember, he was upset about not playing. Looks like he should have played the way he stepped into the role this year. And Michael Jordan is absolutely the talk of the camp, just a big, strong, nasty guy. I think that just overall we're going to be bigger, stronger, more athletic, and just more talented on the offensive line than we were 2 years ago.
I agree with you. I definitely think, I don't think you can really even argue the talent from a base perspective. Like you said, Jones or Prince is such a much better prospect than Baldwin. And each are really the equal of Decker, not by experience by any stretch, but certainly by pedigree and by frame. I think we're also, even though we talk about it a lot, I think we're probably slightly underrating putting in Elflein at center. That was a little bit of a weak spot last year. Jacoby Bourne is a warrior. I do the radio show with Mark Neal, and he interviewed Jacoby in person recently, and Jacoby's already lost about 50 pounds. This is a guy that was waking up in the middle of the night to eat sandwiches to stay at 285. So I think having, arguably the best interior lineman in the country at center is going to help them tremendously. So I'm extremely optimistic. I think that's a great prediction. All right, my second one. I kind of made this one last year, and I think you're going to realize it didn't come true. J.T. Barrett will finish in the top 3 of the Heisman voting and will leave for the NFL. I just don't see, I'll put it this way, I really do see him as being, I don't think he's going to be able to steal Deshaun Watson's shine, but I think he'll be viewed as one of the mainstays of college football this year. I think he's going to have a tremendous season. When you add in the leadership qualities that he has and kind of the reputation he's maintained, I think he's going to be a media darling. And I do not buy into the he can't play in the pros mentality. I think he's kind of got some Drew Brees-ish qualities in him. So that's my prediction. I mean, it's not exactly outlandish. He came back last year and was the second leading returning Heisman vote getter. He was actually fifth overall. And Trevon Boykin of TCU was number one coming back last year. But that's my prediction. Barrett finishes top 3 in the Heisman voting and leaves for the league. Also, he'll be a redshirt junior, so it's not like he's actually leaving early. What are your thoughts?
I mostly agree with you. I'm still worried about his measurables, and I don't know about the arm strength with the NFL, but I almost thought that one myself. I almost offered that one myself that he finishes. I was going to say he goes to New York. I believe that he's going to have that kind of year. He's got some young receivers to work with, though. That's the only question mark. I think he's all the reports coming in saying he's just settled in. Last year's behind him, all that craziness of trying to play 2 quarterbacks, and he's ready to be the guy he was as a sophomore or as a freshman, excuse me. Yeah, I think that could happen. I just don't know he can declare. I don't know if he's going to go high because he's going to be 6'1". That's not going to be a positive for him. And again, they're going to say, does he really have the arm strength to drive the ball down the field on the deep out and routes like that where you need real velocity on the football, and their key routes. The deep out is a consistent. It's a defense killer in the NFL. So that's my only concern about that. I think he can be the guy, though, that I think he's going to New York. I absolutely believe that.
We agree there for sure. All right, number 3, Duane.
My third is that we are not going to miss a beat at linebacker. I believe, well, we've got McMillan obviously coming back. The only reason Booker was not in there more, and I say Worley and Baker. The only reason they weren't in there more is because we were so outstanding with the 3 that were in there. I look, the one factor is Baker.
I'm with you. I mean, I told you, Jerome Baker was my favorite player in the class.
He's an incredible athlete. Everyone that sees him at practice says this guy's got to get on the field somewhere. But Worley's not. He's doing his job. He's playing really well out there. So we're going to see. We've got those 2 guys there. Baker's going to be on the field somewhere as often as possible. I don't think we miss a beat with Booker in the game. I think he's a better playmaker. You look at Perry, he's such a solid guy. He is a guy that I believe is, if we get 6 in the NFL, it's going to be because somebody goes up and takes Perry. I just believe that. Everyone else says Von Bell. I just don't know if the NFL values safeties enough to take a guy who's a really good safety. Usually the only ones that go in the first round are the guys that are just superb athletes, elites. I think Perry's the one who could give us our 6, but I still believe Booker's a better playmaker, and hopefully he'll be as solid as Perry was out there. But that's my prediction on the linebackers.
I like it. We didn't even mention Justin Hilliard. That's how deep they are at linebacker, that one of the best linebackers in the history of the state, still having trouble getting on the field. And I use trouble in quotes because I think he's targeted to back up or eventually replace Raekwon, who's not coming off the field until his special Sunday comes, or special Thursday night. That'll be in the future. I'm with you on the other stuff. Jerome Baker is, he's my man crush in the class before. I told you, I think he could play with H-back. That's how talented he is. Just got to get him on the field. And we say this all the time, but it's certainly, symbolic of the growth under Meyer is what has happened at the linebacker position. I say this all the time, but you're literally 3 or 4 years from moving a fullback there halfway through the season or even later, and it was a good move. And now we're talking about replacing a guy who might be a first-round draft pick with a guy who's clearly more talented. So recruiting, it's going well. Okay, here's my final one. And as you can tell, I've always said this is called Bucknuts, not Buck Rational Observers. Ohio State will play in their first ever Peach Bowl. However, that's a good news because that's a semifinal. They will advance, and they will face Alabama Monday, January 9th, 2017 in Tampa, Florida, in the national championship game. To facilitate my belief that we are living now and have been and will going forward in the foreseeable future in an Ohio State, Alabama, Meyer-Saban world. Your thoughts?
Oh, that's wow. That's going out there. I actually believe that could happen. Again, it still goes back to beating Oklahoma at Oklahoma. It's a big deal. Young team, that's the only problem here. This is the most talented team in the country. The hell with Alabama, Florida State, I don't care. Ohio State has more talent in the roster than any team in the country. I absolutely believe that. The problem is experience. That's the only thing. And if they can go into a place like Oklahoma and win, that's going to tell me these guys, the kids are all right. They're going to be fine. And the great thing to think about with that is, as young as we're going to be, just how long we could be looking at where we're expecting Ohio State to be in the national championship. I believe it could happen. I absolutely do. It's just whether the experience gets there, these guys really come around as far as that's concerned.
A couple things stand out to me about what you just said, and I agree with it. One, that Ohio State's the most talented team in the country. You could make the argument with Alabama, and I guess you could make the argument with Florida State. You can't make the argument with anybody else. Those three teams have recruited at a level above everybody else for 5 or 6 years now. Go back and look at the rankings. It's not close. But keep in mind what we're saying here. Ohio State has all this talent after sending 15 to 16 guys to the NFL. So just think about how good things have gotten talent-wise, and that's awesome. And I'll say this. The one thing about the Oklahoma game, if you look at the schedule, it's early enough and they're good enough that Ohio State could lose that game and still go to the playoffs. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think they could win that game. I'll predict them to win probably. But given the timing and the pedigree, if Oklahoma has a tremendous year, I think, the way the schedule is set up, Ohio State would have time to rebound, get back on track, and then you talk about the emergence of Michigan and Michigan State. I think those quality wins down the stretch and a Big Ten championship game would come in. Thoughts?
Oh, I agree with you. I think my concern, that's something I'm glad you brought up, is about the early part of the schedule. That's going to be huge in the fact that, are these guys going to be ready? Have they found their way yet? They've only had a few games against teams that will run through to get ready for an Oklahoma. So early in the schedule also. If it was later in the schedule, I would not be predicting that we're going to have a tough time coming out of there with a win. It's happening so early. It's the first big game for these guys away against a team that's Oklahoma's recruited well. So that's the earliness. It's a big factor. But, yeah, they're going to have a strength of schedule that's going to be better. Going into Wisconsin and winning, that would be another one. But early in the schedule, remember, lost the Virginia Tech game about the same point in the season and won national championship. So, no, that's not crazy that even with a loss there, especially if Oklahoma goes on and has a really outstanding season, that's not going to – it's possible we could lose that and still – get a shot at it.
There you have it. Hope you guys had some fun with that. Get in the threads. Call us crazy. Call us clairvoyant. Just call us. Make sure you get in there. Let us know what you think. Have a great day, Bucknutters.